Hey, what's happening, everybody? Pragmatic Addict here. I hope you guys' night is going much better than mine. So, I don't feel this insulted by a movie too often. Obviously, from this title, there's only been one other title that I've dropped that was like this, and that was The Friendship Game. Now, hear me out. I've seen some shit. I saw Jeepers Creepers Reborn. Yeah, that was a Fathom event movie. That's a 0% movie. I paid like $18 a ticket for that movie. It is supposedly a reimagining of a horror franchise that I actually really like. But this movie, I almost walked out of this film. It is 89 minutes, and I saw it in a theater, and I paid money for it. And I almost walked the fuck out. So what is happening, everyone? Pragmatic Addict here. Yes, we are going to be sitting down talking about a film called Hunt Her, Kill Her, which also has another title. It's one of those movies that in like other regions it was dropped by like a different name, which is actually Night Shift, which I think is a better title. I don't know, something about Hunt Her, Kill Her. It was just weird. It was so weird going up to the ticket booth and being like, yeah, can I get a ticket to Hunt Her, Kill Her? And the person's just like, yeah, here you go. But I'll say this, guys. As someone who is planning all this week to go see the Children of the Corn remake, which I was fucking dreading. I was actually going to see it like 2 days ago. And I was like, look, I just can't bring myself to see this pile of shit. It's not going to be good. So I put it off, and there was other videos I could have done. I was like, oh, cool, 2 movie trailers dropped for movies that I'm somewhat interested in. The Haunted Mansion, as well as the film Malum, which is actually from the same studio that did this movie, which is a new studio called Welcome Villain. I'm like, oh, cool, it's a remake of the movie Last Shift with the same director coming back for it. So I had some, hype for this film. I'm like, it's an invasion horror film. It's only 89 minutes. It's getting some fair-ish reviews. It's the first film from this new studio. I will go see this and not Children of the Corn remake. Thank you very fucking much. But goddamn, guys, Children of the Corn remake might just be a little bit better than this one. So yes, I was pretty excited for this film, to a fair degree. It is an invasion horror film. Basically, the plot is that this girl named Karen is starting a new job as a janitor. It is her first shift, an overnight shift. She's the only one in this warehouse, and of course, the worst thing that could possibly happen in this scenario fucking does. She's working this job all by herself, her first night, again, overnight shift, and 4 masked intruders come in and are basically out to kill this woman. Now, I will say, guys, I went into this movie just like any other review I was planning to do. I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down, there's going to be some stuff I probably won't like about it, there's going to be some stuff that I do, and overall, I'll say how I feel about the movie. But about 20 minutes into this movie, I shit you not, I was like, this is going to be my second rant I think I've ever done on my channel, isn't it? Now, I wouldn't say that there's stuff I necessarily like in this movie, but there's stuff where I'm like, okay, it isn't absolute garbage. Even starting from the very beginning. How this movie sets up, how it opens up and everything, I'm like, oh, okay, it's got that retro kind of feel to it. It's got a booming score. It's got a, like that direction where the camera's like set on a dolly and it's reeling you throughout the warehouse, showing you what we're going to be kind of working with, the setting that we're going to be getting familiar with. And I was like, all right, you're setting up this atmosphere. You got this very retro tense horror score. I'm feeling this. I'm into it. But the second that this potential is wiped clean, this is when it starts, guys. So right off the bat, we see just some characters that are the absolute most throwaway characters that we could have in a low-budget, limited release, debut horror film. Which, before I get into them, I will say the main character in this, Karen, right off the bat, I kind of got this feeling where I thought I actually might like this character enough. You know, she enters this film, she's like, yeah, you know, I'm just here to do this janitor's job. I got a little girl at home, someone's babysitting her. Her phone rings a couple times during this other employee, like, showing her the ropes. And she's like, you know, sorry about that. I got this person babysitting my little girl. It won't be an issue. And then something happens with this guy that's training her, who is one of the most throwaway characters. He's very animated. He's very overly rude, very overly irritated. Just a guy that definitely hates his life and is definitely like a late-aged janitor that is just not happy with him fucking self and just doesn't want to fucking be here. Doesn't want to be training this person. Again, just right off the bat is just a piece of shit. But along the way of him, you know, showing her what to do and everything, like what to work with, here's what, you know, we do on this job, on this shift and everything. Some shit happens where it is pretty surprising, pretty like, oh okay. Where you kind of get the sense that this character, Karen, she has enough experience under her belt where she knows how to get some shit done. You know, again, this is just a job to support her daughter. And I will say I was interested enough in this character. You know, I was interested enough in her persona. I liked her attitude. I liked her, you know, atmosphere. I just liked her bluntness. I thought she was well cast, all that stuff. Again, my biggest complaints up to this point were just the side characters. And even aside from this coworker, this, you know, over the top, animated, just overly rude person, there's also other coworkers that come in and are just literally just spitting on this fucking woman and like wreaking havoc kind of around the building before she starts her shift. Just shit like that. But again, I accepted the environment enough and I liked the character enough where I was like, okay, look, if we're going into this film as I'm hoping that it's going to be, this isolated, kind of claustrophobic, tense, you know, cat and mouse kind of throw of this woman just fighting off 4 masked intruders in a building late at night all by herself on her first shift, that could work, especially if it's only 90 minutes. If this is just a throwback kind of like cat and mouse, isolated invasion thriller, cool, sign me up. Once shit gets going, that's where I'm going to judge it. But here's the thing, guys. So, my boy Jeremy Johns recently did his review of Children of the Corn. And there's a quote he said in that review where he says, this is one of those films that takes no time with getting started, but still feels like it wastes your time throughout the entire fucking film. That is how I know, between this film and Children of the Corn, you're really just, it's a double-edged sword. There's no really easier way to fucking pick. They're both going to be bad films, and sure, I will say this really quickly. Upon choosing either this film or Children of the Corn, I had screeners that I was invited to attend earlier this week for both Creed 3 and Operation Fortune. And I do have a pretty bad track record with this stuff, where I'm like, oh cool, Infinity Pool. I'm going to see Fear. Oh cool, Ant-Man Quantumania. Let's go see the Fathom event of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. So I'm no stranger to this kind of feeling, but for this film to be as bad as it was, again, I don't know, man. Children of the Corn might have been a little bit better. Now, obviously, we're only like a few minutes into this movie. And like I said, this film takes no time to get started. Literally, the second that she starts mopping these fucking floors, these intruders are coming and like, sorry, you're gonna have to remop that shit because we're gonna spray these floors with blood, man. And it was right there where I was like, oh no. This is gonna be a disposable, low budget, why the fuck was this in theaters cliche thriller, isn't it? But even during this time, I was still willing to like maybe try and reason with myself. I'm like, sure, there's a lot of these classic cliche overboard throwaway side characters, but maybe that is setting you up where it is that obvious thing again where it's like, well, maybe these guys are the intruders. What's their motive? There's enough, even if they are overly equally bullshit characters, there's enough, you know, characters where you're like, well, is it them? Is it the other guy? And again, why are they doing this? Which brings me into, obviously, another criticism, because it's just going to be a rant video, where there is enough background for this character, but I'll say it like this. This is one of those films that didn't really need a script. It's an 89-minute film about a woman janitor who is on her first night at this job, all by herself, that gets invaded by these masked intruders. Just give us a quiet, claustrophobic, isolated invasion thriller. That is all I was expecting going into this movie, and that's all that I was hoping for, because that could have worked. But like I was saying a minute ago, there is some stuff in here where you're like, okay, I get it. This is a little bit much, but this could work for setup. Even with the character's background, she's got this daughter that someone is babysitting, and the film does lean into that, where it's like, again, well, yeah, she's a mother. She's obviously got that, motherly instinct where she's got to fight to get out of this for her daughter's sake. But this is one of those movies that really thinks the audience is really stupid and thinks that they've never seen a horror movie, older than like the 1990s. Which I'll paint the picture like this, guys. This takes place in a warehouse in the middle of the night with one woman on her first shift with 4 invaders coming in. You could paint this so well. There's so much to work with in the warehouse. It's a wide open space where, there's a bunch of boxes, a bunch of shit around, a bunch of different rooms where you could really make this a cat and mouse thriller. There's 4 different, invaders. We don't know who they are, what their motives are, what kind of people they are. Now, here's the thing. And this is a huge thing about an already bad movie that I have a lot of, opinions about that are not good. Every second of this movie, you're seeing all 5 of these people, the intruders plus this woman, always on screen together. Yeah, this is a giant warehouse, again, with a bunch of shit. It's dimly lit. There's like a bathroom, there's an office, there's some other rooms and shit. But they're always on screen together, not more than a few feet apart. There's no build-up or any suspense. There's no hiding from this person, these intruders, and wondering where they are. There's no getting creative really with the environment. Even just the silence. There's no silence. There's no isolated claustrophobia, anything that would really make this kind of a film with this premise really what it could be. Anything that's ever remotely alarming in this film to the slightest, there's always like a beaming score rising. There's always that, following the camera behind this person with them slowly approaching a door or something. I swear to God, they do every single cliche, everything that someone expects in a bad horror movie, and everything that everyone hopes wouldn't be in a horror movie that they're spending their money on. And just for this premise, how do you fuck this up? Like, I didn't even see the trailer. I'll say that. I didn't even see the trailer. I just saw the synopsis and I was like, oh, okay. This is going to be an isolated, claustrophobic, invasion thriller. That sounds fun. And what it comes down to is that just the only fear in this film is just the idea. Even just, like, as I was watching this movie, I was literally stuck in that mindset of like, okay, just imagine the idea. This woman is stuck in this warehouse with 4 masked strangers that are trying to kill her. And with everything that I was hoping for out of this film, I was even thinking about that. I'm like, okay, this could be a good film. It is a good idea. And I look at the screen, I'm like, but nothing in this film is good. Everything is predictable. Everything is cliche. Everything is overly forced to, like, where it's right in your face with what is going on. This is this is one of those films that just thinks that its audience has never seen a horror movie past 1990. Like, I don't know, guys. I really wanted to root for this studio. This is the first film from this studio. And again, this is getting some pretty fair reviews. It's a pretty good idea for a horror film. And the studio's next film, Malum, is a remake of the movie Night Shift with that same director returning. Like, this film should not be as bad as it is. But I really am concerned for what this studio has to offer from here on out. I also want to say this. I don't know if this is from, like, them disguising their voices. It sounds like it is. But the intruders in this film, it was very distracting. But they all sound like Scary Terry.
Welcome to your nightmare, bitch!
They literally sound like that and say that shit. Obviously, this was an empty theater. But every piece of dialogue that came out of these intruders' mouth, I literally was like, I gotta write this shit down. This is just too funny. You're mine now, little piggy. I see you. You ain't getting away. Come out, bitch. We know you're in there. And I'm not exaggerating the voice. This literally could be the same voice actor that did Scary Terry and Rick and Morty. This is a brand new studio releasing a movie in 2023, and these lines are repeated multiple times, each of them, in this 89-minute movie that has no other scare factor. Now, I will say this before I wrap it all up. The last act, it is watchable and it is intense enough, but even then, it's not good. It just feels like that final showdown kind of like thing with an invasion horror film, and you know, with its plot, how it wraps up, it does kind of like attempt at a twist, but again, everything is so sprinkled throughout the movie, and there's breadcrumbs for every possible thing that's coming in this movie, that it's really just like, oh well, it feels like it wanted to be a twist, but it was just obviously leading up to that. So, I mean, take that as you will. But yes, guys, obviously this movie was awful. I am obviously going to give it a negative review. I don't know, guys, this might actually be the worst film of the year. And I know that it is very early on, but you gotta understand, guys, I have never made a rant video like this, with a title like this, since the fucking Friendship Game. But yes, guys, that is going to do it for this video. I hope that what I gave you guys was enough to just steer clear from this movie. I know I didn't really drop too much of a review for this movie, or doesn't so much feel like that, than it is a rant. But really, this is all I can say about this movie. Just fucking avoid it. But yes, guys, that is going to do it for this video. Let me know of what you guys thought of this review. More importantly, of this movie, for those who actually did end up seeing it. But yes, guys, I hope you guys are having a great night. I will see you guys very soon, and I'm going to wrap it up here. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.